Felix and Tony.
Come on, show Adam.
Felix and Tony.
Come on, show Adam.
They're the right reason for a new season. Together we rise.
Welcome back to another episode of On the Trail with Felix and Tony. I'm Felix Camacho, former governor of Guam and candidate for the upcoming 2022 gubernatorial election. And joining me every week and on every moment on the trail of the 2022 campaign is my running mate, Senator Tony Adelup.
Half a day.
Half a day. On the trail, you will get an insight into our platform, our thoughts on the issues that our island faces, and everything upcoming on the trail to the 2022 primary and general elections. And for this week, I'd like to turn it over to Senator Tony Adelup, and let's talk a bit about what happened on the trail this week and a recap of the week from Saturday to Friday.
Oh, absolutely, Felix. You know, before we begin, though, I noticed a new change in our podcast here, and our producer put a timer now up for us. I guess I guess he figured out we just go on too much, don't we? So,
This is a bit of this is what you call the time cop.
yeah. So you know, I'm looking at it and it's going 33, 49, 48. So it's like, you know what? Hurry up and just get the segment with, right? So, but you know, this week, just a recap of what we had this week. We started out Sunday with our Southern District meeting down at the Netadogs residence. I think it was an awesome turnout for our meeting. We had the momentum, the enthusiasm of the people there. It was great.
I think it's wonderful how the trucks came out with all the signs, and we all gathered together in Agana and paraded on down there with a nice caravan. You and I were able to get ahead of the group, stand on the side of the road with our wives and our other supporters, and just wave to everyone that was coming through, and others coming from the other direction. But I think that's part of the trail of the campaign. The fun of it all is just the involvement. Is something unique to the islands, unlike what you would maybe experience in the U.S. mainland. But the island has its own flavor.
Yeah.
And the enthusiasm, the fun, and just the familial type of feeling there. And, of course, the Southern hospitality
Exactly. Yeah.
that was brought down there.
And I
It's
think
wonderful.
what really made it come back was that, you know, the last campaign, the 2020 elections, you know, none of this could have been done.
Yeah.
But now coming back out, people were so excited. You know, we had the music playing, just the excitement of not just the people that were there, but also the candidates, you know, the candidate for Congress, all our senatorial candidates, you and I, and our families. It was just such an awesome time, you know, that we started the week with. And
Yes.
it just happened to start in the Southern.
Yeah, there's something really about our Southern District on the island. You know, the different families that are there, the hospitality, the friendliness. Even I think, Senator, you and I have experienced even waving. There's just a genuine acceptance, or even if they're not for us, or not maybe supporting the other teams, there's always a sense of respect.
Yeah.
You know, and a friendly smile and a wave and a nod, a honk. But I just feel really, really comfortable down there, and it reminds me a lot about my mom and her mother, of course, coming from Inarahan.
Yeah.
And just the culture and the practices and the norms of the Southern hospitality and the familial gathering, you know, is what we all experienced down there.
Yeah.
And for all of us to be there was terrific.
I mean, even just the setup with the sounds, with the food, you know, everything. It was just all delicious. Everything was really great. But, you know, we really had a good time. And, you know, again, we thank the Netadog family for hosting at their home, and the Southern District villages for having it and putting it together for us, having that successful meeting.
Yeah, it's amazing the generosity of people. As you know, we're a team of volunteers right now. We're not an incumbent team or administration. Mm-hmm. So as we're organized, it's people are giving out of their own pockets and their own free will, and they're there as volunteers. And so very exciting, very exciting.
Yeah.
And it was a good start.
Absolutely.
Start
It was a
heading
great
into the primary.
Yeah. And then we had coming up the Chiguyan Memorial
Yes.
that was also up in Jigo.
Mm-hmm.
And that closed out our liberation festivities, right? It started out, I believe, with Menengon and then ended with Chiguyan. And it was great to see, the families that were there, the war survivors, just the different folks that lost loved ones throughout the war, and seeing them and being part of them and being a part of the memorial services was a blessing. It's something that I believe our children and future generations should continue to participate in.
Yeah. There's some. I remember I excused myself and I said, Senator, I'm going to step out to the back.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I turned around, I saw the mayor of Agana, John Cruz, there, and with a certain gentleman who they identified as being the landowner. So I figured, let me go. Besides, I think they were in the best spot because they were under these large trees that were planted there in the 1970s by the conservation group out of agriculture. And I believe it was Ted Concepcion. And I asked him, please explain to me this site and how they gave you honors, and credit for providing this land for the memorial. And I believe the veteran John Blas was up there explaining the history and the research done to identify exactly this was the spot where these our men were beheaded, our fellow Chamorros. And he said, I applied for this land and was granted 20 acres, but because this is the specific site upon which they were beheaded and killed, I dedicated this for the memorial. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a very touching tribute that even though it was given, he honored those that passed away by saying, this site is set aside and please use it. I'd never been to that location before and was quite touched by the story of what had happened. Senator Frank Blas went on to explain another story of finding that his father-in-law was actually was one of the victims there. And so the personal stories that come across and the testimonies that you hear from people that are really intimate with the events that occurred, it brings up a lot of memories, but quite amazing to understand the ordeal of this generation that we call the greatest generation and all they had to endure. Mm-hmm. Quite amazing. Yeah. But thank you on that.
And then during just before we closed the ceremony there, you recall Mr. Blas came up, John Blas came up, and he mentioned about an additional, I think, seven men that a location of 7 men were on, I think, Ramirez Street, I believe he said it was. Wow. That they said that the military had turned over some documents for that. So I guess more research will be done into that and the names, and hopefully we'll be able to also get that for next year's, memorial recognition as well.
One final thing on this that I've observed is the Amanamkut that are there, the war survivors, the numbers are really decreasing. Mm-hmm. There are fewer and fewer of that generation that remain with us, and so everything we can do to glean from them, as like Senator Frank Blas has done, the war survivors, to get their testimony, to get their stories, so that it's never forgotten, I think is very important. So, but just observing the individuals that were there, as you mentioned, started from the start of this whole liberation thing, and all the different ceremonies and different events that they're still coming out. It's but it really is heartwarming to see that.
It definitely is. Yeah.
So, did you want to just mention anything about the Lions induction? I know that you were part of that.
Well, I'm a proud Lion from Guam Harmony Lions Club.
All right.
Roar. So anyway, we had our...
Oh, come on. You can give a better roar than that.
Roar.
There you go.
So we had Guam Harmony Lions Club induction this past weekend, and it was great. Former Senator Luis Muñoz is now what we call our Lion Prexy. She's the president now of our club. And I'm the second vice president, and nice. We have a great team in Guam Harmony Lions Club. I mean, just the members there, they're so amazing. You know, it's just something that, you know, you always try to make the time to go to your Lions meeting so that, you know, you'll be able to participate in the different activities. And we're looking forward for a new year and see how this new Lions year goes on. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate that.
Yes, and
Hopefully we'll get you into a Lions vest.
well, you know, I know. There's been Joanna's, my wife they've asked her to consider it, so the lioness will represent us quite well. Now, I know that you've been quite busy with budget sessions, and could you expound on that just a bit?
Yeah, so we started the budget process hearings this past week. Currently, we're still trying to adopt the revenues for this coming fiscal year 23. We're looking at, gosh, it's already looking at $1.2 billion for the FY23 budget. I mean, imagine 1.2 billion. I think that's what, 900 million more than you had when you were governor?
Yes, that's 20 years ago. That's quite a jump in the budget expenditure for the government of Guam.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, look at it's just truly amazing how, you know, the cost of operations has increased, and you know, have things changed? Have things not changed? I mean, you know, those are the things that we need to look at, and how we see that, you know, are people getting the value for service that the cost of government is at now? You
know, and that leads to a very interesting topic also, that you were able to go to the opening of the iLearn Academy, which is a charter school, which was pretty much financed and built privately. And you want to talk about efficiencies, design, the amount of time it took to build it. Senator, could you share with our people?
Yeah. So, you know, when I went there for the ribbon cutting, it was great to see that a new school is opening. You know, be it a charter school, but it's still a new school. I mean, I think
well, they were previously in another facility that was being leased out, but this now was purpose built
right for education. This is a school, state of the art classrooms. They have a nice, you know, cafeteria, everything. So everything is just, you know, it's nice to see that when the students go to learn, that's what they'll be able to do, is learn in this facility, because they don't have to worry about a roof leaking, or, you know, what's going to go on, whether it's going to flood or anything like that. So it was great to see that the principal and the faculty and staff, they were so proud of their opening. And I think that's what, you know, charter schools are great, but we need to bring that balance of our Guam Department of Education facilities as well.
Right.
You know.
Well, you know, that's interesting. They opened up iLearn Academy. I understand that there's a waiting list where many parents want to enroll their children. And it leads us into the hot topic of On the Trail, which is education. And so I'd like to talk about that, because when we talk about iLearn and a new facility built very quickly, I understand
18 months.
18 months. Arrangement was federally financed, perhaps through GIDA or GURA.
Right.
And it reminds me of the schools that we built in my time, you know, through municipal lease.
That was 5 schools you built. Privately
financed, privately maintained, and handed over to the government for a 20-year lease, which would soon be expiring, that actual lease program. And the facilities now go back to the government of Guam, and who's now responsible for the maintenance of it and the upkeep. But when you think about the difficulty that the government has had in the building of Simon Sanchez High School, there's quite a contrast in the process of it, the procurement, all the requirements that are necessary when you go through the difficult regulatory requirements of government of Guam in trying to undertake a massive project such as building a school, as compared to working with the private sector and the efficiencies, that they bring, I think there's a stark contrast between the two. And would you like to share on that, Senator?
Yeah, absolutely, sir. I think when we look at the facilities, right, and granted, yeah, it's an elementary school, right, or I learned it's not really elementary; it's all grade school. But if they can build a school in 18 months, it shouldn't take Gov Guam 5 years to build a school. When we look at what's going on right now with Simon Sanchez, they're still trying to figure out how they're gonna get everything into place and start getting the groundbreaking. But yet we have GW who has a gymnasium that's crumbling.
Yeah.
And now the teachers are teaching outside. The PE teachers are teaching outside under canopies.
Yeah.
And what a way to open up a school year. The GDOE schools just opened up this past week. And I understood that a lot of students went back to schools with the grass not being cut. A lot of schools had air conditionings that were not working. So what are we doing to ensure that our students get a quality education? I mean, they haven't had that quality education for the past 2 years. This is not the way we need to start this out.
Yeah.
We need to ensure that our children get that 21st century quality education. And the first thing we need to do is give them a facility that they can have learning, a good learning environment with their teachers, because I understand there's still a shortage of teachers as well.
Yes, I know an article came out in the papers, and they focused on the fact that this is the first time since the 2019-2020 COVID pandemic, arrived on Guam, and so it's the first time since then that the students within the GDOE are back in a face-to-face, environment, back at school, and they mentioned about there are nearly 100 unfilled teaching positions that remain. We've talked, of course, to some teachers about what's going on, and I know the administration is, or at least GDOE is implementing a program called Operation Guardian to address the teacher shortages by taking central staff to fill some of the staffing shortages within the schools, but that's only a temporary Band-Aid. And so there are many different barriers that they're faced with, that they're trying to overcome, many challenges that they're looking at, and they're working hard to get to the point where they can control, whatever's going on. But from my perspective, having been governor, it was interesting because when I came in back in 2003, we now had an elected school board who then chose their superintendent. They handle their own procurement, and so the largest government agency that requires and demands the greatest amount of financial resources and support is no longer under the direct control, or at least influence, of the governor. They wanted to depoliticize it. I guess that's what the lawmakers wanted at that point in time. But now you have an elected board. So a lot of times that when difficulties came up and problems and challenges, the fingers were always pointed to the administration, saying the governor's not providing enough support. We're not getting the money out of Department of Administration. We're not getting our allotments, and there were so many issues. So it is a continuous challenge and problem that has been around. When you talk about GW, I remember playing against the GW Warriors and the GW Geckos back in the mid-'70s when I was in high school. And GW was the gym you wanted to be at. And eventually, of course, UOG Fieldhouse came into play, and that's the crown jewel. But we certainly do need to work alongside with GDOE and the superintendent and the system. And perhaps there has to be another look at the system and the way everything has been structured. And could there be a better way of doing this? And when we talked about this, right?
Definitely.
With members in the community, teachers specifically, who said, "Look, this is what we're faced with." They said, the student population size has been reduced. I think one of them was from Estumbo and said, we used to have between 500 and 600 students. Now we're down to 300 students at the school. We're experiencing lower class sizes. And she said that's good for the student-teacher ratio and the attention we can spend on each student. But there's a growing trend of a reduced population. We're dealing with teacher shortages right now. We're dealing with supply shortages. We're dealing with a lack of textbooks. And then we're facing competition. And it was very interesting because the discussion was about iLearn, right? And
Right.
they said, well, we feel that the charter schools are drawing from the resources and the budget that we need for our schools. But at the same time, we recognize that they are all part of the government-sponsored, government of Guam funded education.
Mhm.
And then you look at the Department of Defense, the DODEA schools that have been drawing from our teacher corps because they have better resources, they have better facilities, they have better benefits, and the support system is tremendous. When you've got the Department of Defense budget behind you,
Right.
how do you compete against that? And so there's a lot of leakage of teachers there. They talked about the evangelical Christian schools, Harvest being an example of just thriving and doing quite well on their own. They talked about the challenges now of the Catholic school systems under the Archdiocese and the recent news of San Vicente School closing down. You've got many other students that are being homeschooled, and so the problems and the competition within our school system are continuous. But it is now there's so many different aspects of education on Guam.
And that was one of the concerns that the individual had, was that because of the downsizing in student enrollment takes away now funding from the school. So, now they're going to be even more challenged with resources and, getting what they need for the school, because their enrollment went down, and wherever those students went, that's where that funding for that student is going to go. And, that's concerning. It's very alarming, because now what happens to the school that, lost all that enrollment?
That's right.
And, we really need to come out and work together with the Department of Education. And like you said, we need to find what is going to be that balance between charter schools and Guam Department of Education, because there has to be a balance, because both systems need to survive and thrive, because the bottom line, it's the education of our children that's at risk, and we cannot continue to risk their education because the unfairness or what's going on currently. I mean, even they were saying they didn't even get their teachers' pay yet. So, it's just like, wow, okay, they reprogrammed the funding from in DOE through the feds, but yet the teachers still haven't gotten their pay. What's going on?
Right. Right.
I mean, it's very demoralizing. And unfortunately, like you said, that they have their own superintendent, they have their own board of education, that we're only looked at, the administration's only looked at to, where's our funding, where's our needs. And so perhaps there's some things that really need to be relooked, revisited, and perhaps laws may need to be changed.
Another thing, Senator, if you can recall, that they brought up was the physical condition of our schools. Many of them are quite old, and they say, it shouldn't be like that. I recall in our time that each department or agency, we had a program where we partnered with the private sector, and it was called Adopt a School. So every department adopted one of the schools, and during the summer, before the kids would come back, we would be out there water blasting, scraping, painting, scrubbing floors, bush cutting, trimming everything back. And whatever supplies were needed, whoever your partner was out of the private sector would contribute. And the teachers would come out, administrators would come out and help us. And so it was an in-house type of thing, but it really did a lot of volunteerism work. And that community working alongside even the mayors to get the schools within their districts prepped up. And those are things that we can do to help out. So Adopt a School is certainly one thing that we can look at. But when they talked about the condition of the schools and the need to perhaps refurbish, we did discuss a concept that I had back then when they were building JFK and moved the students out to GW. We recognized, of course, the strain on faculty, staff, and the students because of the double sessions and the tension even among the students. So when we approached Cortec at that time, and they were up there at Tizen, to use the facility as a holding facility, and they would refurbish the buildings and make it site adaptable for a school. The intent was to, whatever school needed to be refurbished or rebuilt, that student population would move into that facility. Work would then be done on the existing school. And one of them was, for example, JFK. The other one was Untitled Middle School, is another example. And once the school is then done or refurbished, you move the students back, next school in line. We need to start thinking about down the line, down the future, what schools need to be refurbished, what needs to be completely torn down and rebuilt, and what are there any other available lands that we might need to look at, and what's the long-term plan for GDOE with their master plan on whatever schools are necessary. So that's just facilities. There's so many other issues there, but we would need
because I know they were GDOE. It was turned over to GDOE to build Simon Sanchez High School, and GDOE is in the business of educating our children. We should, and that's what we should keep them at, and ensure that government supports GDOE by taking care of these building these facilities. And not put that into the hands of GDOE, because they really need to concentrate on educating the children.
Just one other topic that one other issue on education, and as it relates to charter schools. One of the teachers mentioned that if you look at the charter school model in several states, they're not necessarily funded by the government or by the education system, but rather by private institutions. And so who knows what would happen with, say, San Vicente? Would it be a charter school that would be funded by, or at least something worked out by the Archdiocese of Agana, or a private institution? We'll see. But I think we need to there has to be some paradigm shift in how education has been handled on Guam, and even legislatively take a look at the existing laws that created this structure.
Yes.
To see, is there something within the system that can be fixed?
Right.
And I think that's the approach we would need to take a look at everything within the government of Guam and how it's structured.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the saying, right? If the wheel ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But if the tire's flat, we need to pump some air into it and, ensure that it's a wheel again.
Yes.
So, when we talk about revisiting laws or revisiting structures, it doesn't mean that, it's about change, right? It's about adapting. It's about adapting to the future, adapting to what we need to ensure that our children have that quality education that they need to succeed in life.
Well said. Well said.
Absolutely.
And in fact, Mr. Booth, are there any questions from the community? Is there a question of the week that we can address, whether it relates to education or any other topic?
Sure. Exactly tied to education. This is from Miss Blancaflor, either from Facebook or Instagram. The question is, what is the gist of your platform, and are there any plans for the education sector?
Senator, I think we talked a lot
We
about
talked a lot about education and what we
education.
like to do, and
Right.
it's most especially that's important is actually revisiting laws or the structure of how things came about,
Yeah.
and see what we can do to revisit that.
Yeah.
But I think working with the superintendent and the board of education is paramount and important as well, because they can't do it without the administration, and they still need the help of government of Guam, even though they're an entity of the Guam Department of Education.
Right. You think about it too. There are many other avenues out there. When you think of the Guam Trades Academy and what they've done in skills training, I know also that there have been boot camps and others in the construction industry, as an example.
At GCC.
People. There's been a great interest in HVAC training, and so if you're not necessarily interested in pursuing a college preparatory curriculum that would then lead you into a university or a community college, one recent charter school that opened is the Career Tech that would train our students for those that would want to pursue careers, and so quite interesting. There are. I know that there are some other issues there. So with education, are there any other questions that we could perhaps answer?
Sure. You did touch on already. Sal Cruz posted an article on GW's gym remaining closed and then asking to bring it up. I know you guys already brought it up, but maybe expound on it, on what can be done in particular for the gym.
I think that's where Department of Education now needs to come out and, what federal funds has been given to Department of Education, especially in the Education Stabilization Fund or anything that was meant to improve or improve the facilities. If there's immediate funding available for the building of a new gymnasium, there's space up there that they can build a new gym. Yeah. Or if that gym can be refurbished to be, like new again. We see it every day happening where people go out and they refurbish these houses that are 40, 50 years old and then they sell them again, right? We need to look at our facilities that if we're able to, and because facilities that were built in the 70s are way stronger than what is being built today. So these are the things that we need to look at. But I think that the gymnasium up at GW is important because what high school can go through a whole school year without a gym? It's impossible. It's just not. It's not conducive for our children education. Their sports activities, everything that goes on up there. So I think that they need to relook and revisit that.
I appreciate that. And so now I think it's time to wrap up this show. And Senator, if you could just expound on the need to register and all the other issues that we would like the general public to know.
Oh, thank you. I say our producer is really, boy, that clock is something else. It keeps you looking at it. I know. It's 1:34, 1:33, 1:32. Anyway.
The Central District meeting from last night?
Yes, sure. So we had the Central District meeting last night over at Mr. and Mrs. Ray Bloss's residence. Oh my goodness, what a turnout!
And it was wonderful to see, his father's former mayor, Nito Blas, there too.
And Auntie Doring, his wife Doris. Oh my goodness, just such a lovely family there. It's so so welcoming into their home.
Yeah.
And it was just great.
What do they call Manila? Mangi Town?
Mangi Town.
Yeah. I love it.
And we had a great time there. We have on the 21st coming up is our Northern District meeting up in Derito, the old flea market area.
It would be exciting.
Yeah, that would be at 5 o'clock p.m. And it's going to be another exciting meeting for the Northern District.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait to get there on the 21st, 5 p.m. So please, everyone, join us there. You're going to have fun. You're going to enjoy the food. More importantly, you're going to enjoy the company.
Absolutely.
because we have great people that are there that just want to be there.
What I've really enjoyed is just taking a minute or two or a few minutes to, as I see a person I have not met, I would sit down and, what's your name? And tell me a little bit about yourself and what brought you here. And, just the excitement, of meeting new people. And I think you were sharing a story about a certain individual, a woman that had come from.
Yeah. Well, actually, there was two. The other one was first that lady. She wanted to get our thoughts on the hospital and other education and things like that.
Right.
That she just came to the meeting, and I said, "Wow, this is great."
Yeah.
She wanted to get to know more about us, and that's why she came.
Yeah.
And
you did secure her vote, right?
yes.
Thank you very much.
And
I appreciate that.
She really appreciated being there, and she appreciated us for having that meeting to get to know a little bit more about us.
And that's very encouraging because it shows that people, they want to go and they want to know the candidates and what they're all about, and they'll take the time. And
yes,
we appreciate that so
Yeah.
much.
And there was a Joe, Joe from Maina. He goes that he drove all the way to Manila just to be at the meeting.
Wow.
Because he wanted to know more about Felix and Tony.
Hey.
Yeah. And I told him, right. And we had a good conversation, but in the end I told him, I said, Joe, I'm not here to convince you, right? I'm not talking with you to convince you, but you're going to feel it in your heart that this is the right team to be with. Listening to what we have to say, listening to our thoughts and what we want to do for our people and our island, you'll feel it in your heart. And then you're going to say, this is the team I want to be with. Yeah. And it's going to be because you want to be with us.
Right.
That's going to make the difference.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes the difference in how people move forward, right? Is because I believe in you. Yeah. I believe in what you do. And I believe that you're going to be looking out for the best interests of the people.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. Well said. Thank you so much.
But that was a good one. It was a very good, awesome meeting, and we're looking forward to the northern meeting now.
And meeting more new people.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
So as we wrap up this show, register to vote. We encourage everyone to exercise your right to vote, and you can register to vote at the Guam Election Commission, located on the second floor of the Oka Building on Fahrenheit in Tamuning, or online at gecguam.gov. Individuals may opt to register to vote or update their voter registration record when they apply for a driver's license or Guam ID at the Department of Revenue and Taxation's Motor Vehicle Division, or you can visit your village mayor's office with the deputized voter registers. District registration started Friday, August 5th at your village mayor's office. You can ask questions through social media at Camacho Adat for Guam. Engage with us on the trail by asking us questions through any of our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. And your questions can be sent to us in text, audio, or video. We look forward to engaging with you in the digital space and answering your questions of the show.
All right. And you did mention about the Northern District meeting coming up. So fantastic. Early voting?
Early voting. It's been going on since... When did it start? Well, it closes August 19th, so early voting is happening down at the Westin Hotel from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the mezzanine level.
Yes.
So if you want to early vote, go down to the Westin Hotel and early vote. And don't forget to vote for Camacho Adat.
I believe you can even register to vote and then vote.
Oh, you can register to vote and then vote at the
Westin.
At the Westin.
Fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
And I believe now you can also go to your mayor's office, right? Your
Yes.
respective village mayor.
To register.
To register, yeah.
But if you want to register and vote, just go straight down to the Westin, register to vote, and vote Camacho Adat, and vote, stay on the Republican side of the ballot.
Yeah, it makes it very convenient. And so, Tony, if we can close out.
Well, this has been a wonderful episode. We hope that you'll come back and join us again on the trail with Felix and Tony.
So, let me just reiterate. Join us on the trail with Felix and
Tony.
All right. So, again, we look forward to seeing you all and talking with you all next week. And have a wonderful week. God bless you all.
God bless. Have a great day.
Zuswasi.
Felix and Tony.